Hello, everyone, and welcome to Short Hops with manager Kevin Hooper. Short Hops is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper questions about baseball, sports, or just life in general. Kevin's always happy to share his pearls of wisdom with us and give us a little insights into the sports world and into life in general. So let's get right to Short Hops.
We want to welcome manager Kevin Hooper back this week. So, Kevin, first of all, let's talk about transactions and injuries that you've had. I believe you've added Alex, is it Coronas? Is that the way you'd say that?
Yes, Coronas.
Okay. And what brought him to the team? Kind of what was the process that you went through in adding him?
Well, last night was actually his third start, so we've had him here for a couple of weeks. He's the guy that took Scott Richmond's place when Richie went to the Pan Am games. So he came in to fill that rotational spot while Richmond pitched in the Pan Am games. And actually, Team Canada beat our Team USA last night for the gold medal game in the Pan Am. So
look at that.
Congratulations to Richie on winning a gold medal on that. And he's due back at some point today, I believe. So we'll have to make a decision on what we're going to do with the rotation.
So does that mean, do you have a spot available for him, or is that you're going to have to put somebody on injury reserve or release somebody to make room for him?
Yeah, we'll have to make a move. In order to make room for him again. But he's a starter that has made 2 starts with us in Richmond that did a tremendous job in those 2 starts. So we'll get it all figured out. And going in the right direction. So get this kind of set up how we want it.
Excellent. Well, let us get into this week's question. So first of all, you got to meet Pete Rose last night. So what were your impressions of that?
Pretty surreal moment. I got to he's doing some TV interviews and just some media stuff, and one of our promotions guys brought me up there to meet him, and him and I just sat down, just the 2 of us, and chatted for about 10 minutes. It was pretty neat. And then obviously I'm coming in the clubhouse and speaking to the guys, giving them a little speech, and hanging out with him in the dugout while he coached some first and third base. So it was neat. It was really neat, and he's a baseball guy. He's just another one of us. Fit right in, no issues at all. So it was a lot of fun, something we'll never forget for sure.
So it was more than you getting to talk to him. He actually was coaching with you yesterday.
I'm sorry?
I said he was actually coaching with you. It was more than just kind of sitting down and talking with him then.
Yeah. He coached first base the first 2 innings, then he coached third in the third, and then it was really hot. It was one of those hot nights. It wasn't a big breeze, so then he had some other stuff he needed to go do around the stadium. They had a meet and greet, signing autographs and stuff like that. So, yeah, hanging out with him in the dugout and just talking baseball was pretty neat.
I bet. That would be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Stephen from Wichita would like to know, what are similarities and differences you see between your former closer, Matt Navarez, and your current closer, Dakota Watts?
Both of them throw very hard. They're both 95, 97-mile-an-hour guys. Both of them are pretty, they're both big guys, but Dakota especially, he's straight downhill. I mean, he throws, his angle is from up top, and he's probably 6'4", 6'5" as it is. So that downhill angle he creates is phenomenal. And Dakota's pretty much a fastball slider type guy, and Navarez, was a fastball cutter, slider, changeup type guy, but pretty similar. I mean, they both, like I said, when you have a guy throwing 95, 97, that's a nice luxury to have there in the ninth. And, Dakota's come in and done a phenomenal job. Navarez, what he has going that's so good is that cutter. I mean, he's 95, 97. He throws that cutter 89, 90. Righties have a real hard time with it, and he's continuing to do well in Mexico. But like I said, I'm glad we were able to get our hands on Dakota once we lost Navarez.
Tyler from Wichita would like to know, your bullpen has looked good of late. What are some things that you think that have made such a big difference for them?
I think just going right at guys, not giving up free passes. That's kind of what hurt us last night. I think we had a 25-inning scoreless streak out of our bullpen going into last night. And then we were up 2-0 in the 8th, and Yvoli came in and walked the first guy. Gave up a chopper for a single, then he ends up walking the next guy. So free passes, late in the game, 2-run ball game, when you give up free passes, that's when you're going to be in trouble. And I feel like during those 25 innings, we were going right at guys, putting them in play, and they were doing a tremendous job.
Daniel Bennett's looked incredibly impressive lately. Is this an issue related to walks with him that he's really cut down on that for you?
Yeah, I think with all of them, I think that's the case. Pitching to contact. I think that's when we all get in trouble, are the free passes. I always talk about, if we're going to get beat, let's get beat with the bat and not just putting the guy on his own. So that's what we continue to preach and harp on, and unfortunately last night it did us a little bit.
Ted from Hutchinson would like to know how you chose your coaching staff.
Well, they've been with me for a long time. Obviously, I inherited Luke. Luke was a pitching coach the year I played in '08. And then we had a hitting coach, Chris Milam, my first year managing in 2009. And Jose Amato, who lived here in Wichita, kind of made it known that he was interested in the job, and that was kind of a no-brainer for us, just the level that he played at, and his knowledge of hitting. And, he's bilingual also, which is huge. So Jose's been with me since 2010. Jim Foltz, this is his second year with us as a bench coach. So Foltz was a big-time high school coach here right outside of Wichita and Goddard, Kansas for many years, and he's just a baseball guy, and he's known the Robertson family and myself for a long time. And obviously, with the passing of Brian Rose, we weren't going to fulfill that job for a couple of years just because of his legacy and what he brought. And then Foltzy's done a great job filling in as our bench coach. Foltzy's kind of my numbers guy. He's my math guy and does a lot of little things. Pretty much, my bench coach is always my right-hand man. So very fortunate I have the staff I have, and they're all local. We all live here in the area, which is very nice. On the off-season, if we need to huddle up, we can huddle up pretty quickly.
Tina would like to know what you talk about when you come to home plate before games begin with the umpire and opposing manager.
Well, the first game of a series, you're always going over the ground rules. So you cover the ground rules of the ball field that you're at. Obviously, when we're at Lawrence Dumont Stadium, I cover the ground rules. And when we're on the road, I just listen and go around the stadium and see what the ins and outs are. And every other day, you're pretty much just taking the lineup. Not a whole lot being talked about. Maybe some league issues at times, just some stuff in the league. There's just some try to throw some funny stories out there sometimes, but not a whole lot. Just like I said, that first one's a big one where you're covering the ground rules, and then anytime after that, it's just mingling a little bit while you're up there.
I would assume because of some of the managers like Rick Forney and Steve Montgomery, some of these guys have been around a long time, so you've known these guys. It's kind of a chance to say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, too.
Yeah, it's a good time for me to catch up with a lot of these guys, especially the good friends that I have in the league that manage. Some managers have a routine. They'll just come up the first day, and then they'll send, their hitting coach or bench coach up every other day. But it's always a pack with me. I take the card out every night just because if there's ever any issues that need to be talked about, I'm up there talking about them.
Michael from Salina would like to know, isn't it hot wearing those red and black jerseys you guys wear?
Yeah, it gets hot here. That's no secret. It gets hot here in Wichita in the summertime, really hot. The blacks obviously are the warmest. The reds are actually brand new. This is our first year with the new reds, and they're really lightweight, so they're not too bad. In our pinstripes, our white pinstripes at home aren't too bad either. So black's by far the worst. Probably won't see us wear the black a whole lot in the heat, but the new reds aren't bad at all. They're pretty cool because of the lightweight of them.
Lynn from Mulvane asks, do you feel that the moves that you've been making lately have had a result on your defense, had an effect on the defense?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, we're a Jekyll and Hyde team at times, especially offensively, base running, and defensively. We'll have some games where we just kick the ball around, and then we'll have 3, 4, 5 games where we're stellar. Starlin Rodriguez is our newest addition that is our second baseman, and I don't know if you've noticed or anybody else, but we put Leo Vargas in late in the game to play defense for him just because he was a middle infielder with St. Louis in the Cardinals organization, and they moved him to the outfield for the last couple of years. So it's kind of getting back to second base and getting refreshed with it. Obviously, that's my bread and butter. We're out there a lot working on it. He made a couple really good plays last night, so I feel like his defense is getting better every day. Harrison Kane has made our outfield defense way better. I mean, he can really run out there. Made a lot of catches that maybe other guys aren't going to catch. He's got a plus arm from the outfield, so he's fun to watch throw the baseball. But No, we're always looking to make as many improvements as we can defensively and try to put the best defensive team that we can out there, and we take a lot of pride in that.
From what I've seen, it looks like Kane and Jace Ray really make an excellent combination, and David Espinosa is really smart about positioning himself well, so you have to be pretty pleased with that combination.
Exactly, and then, when SV's playing first or DH, and we have Bodine out there in left too, so he can go get the ball a little bit also.
Ken from Wichita has kind of an extended question. He said he didn't realize that Lawrence Dumont Stadium was carpeted all around, so he asked if you like that surface and what do you think are some advantages and challenges of playing on carpet?
Yeah, I definitely like it. I think our guys like it. I know some guys don't like it. When I played in '08, it was that old AstroTurf, the real bouncy stuff. With the dirt pits, I didn't care for that a whole lot. Anytime you got turf over dirt or grass, it's going to be a lot warmer. And how hot it gets here, it gets pretty hot out on that turf. Really hot, actually. But, it's great to run on, and we're very aggressive on the bases and like to run a lot. It's a great surface for us being able to do that. Some of the challenges, I think the biggest challenge is just the heat. And then the batter's box is turf, so that takes a little while for some guys to get used to. Offensively, getting in that batter box, it's turf. I think guys end up liking it, though, because there's really no holes that you're digging in the batter's box, so it's pretty a steady surface throughout the game, which I know a lot of guys like. But other than that, it's nothing too crazy. It's just a turf surface. It's obviously the new field turf, which is a little longer. If you're sitting up in the stands, it probably looks like it's grass out there. That's how pretty it is.
I would assume that would make rain delays a lot less lengthy because you don't have to kind of dry off the around the bags and stuff like that there to get ready for games again.
Yeah, and that's arguably one of the biggest pros is we don't ever really it's got to be raining steady all night plus get rained out. It can rain quite a bit and we could play 30 minutes later. So that's definitely a big time pro is that even when it does rain, which it does quite a bit around here in the summertime with the storms, we're usually able to get out there and play.
Tom from Conway Springs asks, when the Mexican leagues end, and do you expect to get any of your players back when that occurs?
Yeah, we'll see where we're at that time. With the salary cap, obviously, Capra, Cleveland, those guys are veteran type guys, so you got to have some veteran spots for those guys. And then Navarro's also, and it also just depends on if they make the playoffs down there. And I know Capra and Navarro's team, last I saw, was in second place. And I think Cleveland's team was in fourth. So the top four in each division make the playoffs. I know they go a little later this year into the middle of August before the playoffs start. So if we were going to get any of those guys back, they would have to, one, not make the playoffs, or two, probably get beat out in the first round. So we'll just see what happens there at the end.
It looks like that the American Association season is ending a little later. Is that because of Labor Day being on like the 7th, I think it is?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's why we moved it back, because we typically finish the year on Labor Day.
Okay. Ken from Wichita asks, what is the hardest place to play in the American Association for you?
I'd have to say Amarillo, hands down, just because of the playing surface isn't all that great. A lot of peaks and valleys on the surface, a lot of hilly areas, a lot of rocks, tough dirt surface. And the outfield isn't in the best condition either. So, a ground ball there could turn into a double pretty quick. And, the wind's typically always blowing out. It's a great hitter's park, like I said, because you can hit hard ground balls and they can end up finding a hole or, taking a bad hop and getting through somehow. And it's just, it's a tough environment. It's a tough environment to pitch in. It's great to hit in, but it's a tough environment to pitch in and play defense in. So, hands down, Amarillo is the toughest place to play in the league just because of the playing surface. When
you approach a game like that where you know that the surface is not as well as it would be in other places and that it might be a little high-scoring game, does that change the way that you're managing? Like, do you go for the bigger inning? Do you play maybe a little bit more offensive lineup, pitch different guys just because of the surface?
Yeah, you always take it into consideration as a manager, absolutely. That, and also the game's never over. I mean, you could be up 10-0 and another team's still in it just because of that. So you're never out of the game, that's for sure, and you never have a game in hand. So yeah, you try to tack on any way you can offensively, because there's going to be just certain days where no matter how good we pitch, it might just not work out.
Trevor from Wichita would like to know if you ever find yourself talking with opposing fans during games.
Every once in a while, I'll say hello if someone wants to chat and say hello or whatever. Typically, no, though. I'm so locked in on what I'm doing and what I'm focused in on. The biggest time I probably converse with them is maybe I'll get a foul ball and hand it to a kid, and just get some thanks for that and whatnot. That gets engaged into a little bit of conversation. But other than that, not a whole lot. I don't, like I said, I focus on one thing, and that's the game. And in between innings, if I got a second and somebody wants to say hello real quick, I'll definitely do that.
Mitch from Belle Plaine would like to know, did you find it hard to return to manage in Wichita with so many ties to the community? And he asked because sometimes there seems to be less respect for a person returning to their hometown idea. Does that question make sense?
I don't. Yeah, it makes sense, definitely. I don't. I mean, I feel like this is a town that's definitely taken me in more than anything. You're going to have everybody's going to have an opinion on everything in this world, no matter if it deals with the game that I'm dealing with or just everyday life or whatever. So, it's just like any other profession, especially when you're in the limelight. You're going to have your lovers, you're going to have your haters. And I don't know what would bring on any haters for me, but, I know that there's some out there, I'm sure, but, no, I cherish every moment. I know we've spoken about it before, being at home and doing what I do here at home, being with my kids and my wife, and just the community that brought me in when I was playing college ball and made this place home for me and made it feel like home. And just opened their arms to me, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all. I think that everybody's embraced me in this town and what I do, and I think most, more often than not, are happy I'm here and open. I don't go anywhere anytime soon.
Connor from Wellington would like to know what kind of things you do to personally stay in shape.
I work out. I try to work out as much as I can. Obviously, I don't work out near as much as I do when I played, but I do the best I can. I use bands is what I use. It's a band workout. It's called Body Elastics, where I have different bands that weigh different amounts, and that's the workout I do. I take it on the road, actually, where I can put it, on the door. It's got like a door hinge, so anywhere there's a door, I can use it. So it's nice and easy to travel with, and I'm able to do it on the road. I run a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. I was never a long-distance runner. I didn't like it at all. I was a speed guy, so I was always doing sprints, but my wife likes to go on runs, so I join her, and we'll get up to 2-3 miles at a time, so that's pretty good for me. Like I said, because I wasn't a distance guy and don't like distance running at all. So my wife drags me out and gets me going every once in a while.
Michael from Andover has a question, which I find interesting because I've always wondered this myself too. I wonder, with players jumping teams because of free agency, shouldn't there be limits to a teams that somebody would be willing to go to? And his example is how somebody could leave the Red Sox to join the Yankees or leave the Packers to join the Vikings. Doesn't that just seem wrong to you?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, for sure. I think of Jacoby Ellsbury a lot when you talk about that. Here's a guy that was with the Red Sox for quite a while. Then he just jumps over to the Yankees, But to each their own, as I always say, and when free agency hits, I guess that's why it's called free agency, because you can sign with whoever you want. But, no, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. I mean, those are rivalries in sports, and that's what makes them so much fun and unique, is those big-time rivalries. I mean, Red Sox-Yankees is one of the biggest you're ever going to come across. And, if the guy feels that's a place to be and a good fit for him, I guess that's all that matters in the long run.
A person identifying themselves as Cardinals hater asks, why are the St. Louis Cardinals always so good every year? Shouldn't a team like that have a down year every once in a while? I mean, look at the Red Sox. They stink now, and the Yankees are mediocre. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like you and I spoke about maybe last week when I told you I had a good buddy. The only knock on me as a manager is I've never lost. You would think law of averages are going to play themselves out at some point, and they're going to have a losing season or struggle a little bit. But I always say it starts at the top. Look at their manager. I got arguably one of the best managers in the league, and he obviously does things a certain way to get those guys ready to roll night in and night out. And that has a lot to do with it. And I always say too, you can't be a good manager without good players. The players make a manager in a lot of cases. So they've obviously had some good players, a good group come through there, and Matheny's just taken it over and done a tremendous job with it. But as he stated, they keep going and going and going year in and year out. It seems like they're going to be in it at the end. So that's, like I said, that's just a tribute to that staff and what they're able to do there and accomplish.
I'm kind of curious, and I don't even know if you can answer this because of where you're at in your own personal career managing, but I think Matheny's done such a fantastic job replacing Tony La Russa, who's kind of a living legend in terms of managers. And I wonder, when you move on or decide that you've had your time here as a Wichita Wingnuts manager, it'd be really hard for somebody to come and take your place. Do you feel like there's something you would need to say to that person who took your place eventually, or do you just decide, hey, look, I need to kind of back myself away and let them just be them?
Well, I think that it's probably going to be a situation when that time comes where, who knows, I might be involved in that process a little bit of who the next one coming in is whenever that time does come. So, yeah, I mean, I would think that it kind of goes both ways. Maybe if that new manager was wanting to know how things were done and how you did things, absolutely, I'm more than willing to talk to him. But then again, sometimes it goes the other way and being a fresh start, doing some things a little different. But I'm also a believer, if I went into somewhere where there's a big time winning tradition, you're probably going to keep a lot of things the same and how it was going, and try to keep that same routine going.
Our last question is from Chet from Detroit, who asks, he doesn't understand why the Tigers are not doing better. Big payroll, big time talent. They need Kevin Hooper. So what's your take on the Tigers this year?
I appreciate Chet. I appreciate the confidence. I'm not sure this 38-year-old body could muster up a whole lot right now, but I'd definitely love to give it a go again, that's for sure, especially at that level. But I don't know what their deal is. I saw Verlander had a bad one yesterday, former teammate of mine, but hopefully they'll get it back on track and hopefully get this thing turned around a little bit. It's always a big question. Payroll always comes into play with teams. These guys are making the most money. They got one of the highest payrolls. Why aren't they winning? That's just going to come with life in itself and the profession and just doing what they do because of that. When we have the highest payroll, there's going to be expectations. Or one of the higher payrolls, there's going to be expectations. That just comes with territory. So, I'm sure that there's a lot of people wondering the same thing and what's going on, but I believe they've got another pretty good manager themselves, and like I said, hopefully they can get things back on track because they do have a good group, and that's a good quality team that they've put together as it has been for a while now.
Excellent, Kevin. Well, thank you for joining us again this week.
Rob, appreciate the time as always.
See you next week.
We want to thank Manager Kevin Hooper for joining us on Short Hops this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper, please send them to us at askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. I am Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report. We hope to see you next week on Short